Dixie Grace. Before I introduce our Director of Athletics, Jared Binko, I'd like to first recognize the President of Georgia Southern, Dr. Kyle Marrero. Thank you, Doctor, for being here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Director of Athletics, Jared Binko.
All right, appreciate you, Terry. Thanks everyone for being here. What a great day to be an Eagle. We mixed it up today to come in Hanner. We thought it was a good chance to come in Hanner and have the press conference. I want to thank everyone for being here again for today. It's a great chance to welcome Charlie and Tisha and Nash and Dixie Grace to Eagle Nation. Before I get into my comments, I do want to thank Chris Shoemate for serving as the interim coach the past 2 weeks. I'm excited that Chris has agreed to stay on our staff, and we just want to give Coach a round of applause for the work he's been doing. There are several people who played a critical role throughout the search process. Chris Davis, who's our COO, he plays an instrumental role in everything we do here. Reggie Simpkins, who's our Senior Associate AD for Student Athlete Services, and he's our Sport Administrator. Appreciate Reggie's feedback throughout the process, and really appreciate and value him as a friend as well. Brandy Klaus, who's our Deputy AD for Internal Affairs and SWA, she was invaluable as well throughout the process. Got a great team here, and it really played and paid dividends here as we went through the search process. Dr. Geierman, Chris Geierman's here. He's our faculty athletic rep. He's an ally and a friend. I appreciate him being here and enjoy working with him daily. Leonard Bevel was also helpful, as well as our chairman of the Athletic Foundation, and appreciate his help during the process. And of course, Dr. Kyle Marrero, thank you for your support and assistance during this process. We're blessed to work underneath you every day. And you're talking about a transformative leader that wants only best for Georgia Southern. We appreciate you, and you're a big supporter of athletics, so we appreciate you being here as well. I also want to thank our staff. Listen, I tell you, you're only as good as the people around you. We've got a great staff, and really want to appreciate everybody that's helped on board the Henrys this week. I also want to thank Parker Executive Search for their help during the process, and I appreciate the help of everyone who was both we called on and really researched Charlie and other candidates throughout the process. Thank you for your help. You know, our mission, and we've talked extensively about it, our mission at Georgia Southern is to relentlessly cultivate a championship ecosystem in athletics, academics, and civic excellence. We want to be excellent in everything we do, and that's something we really take pride in. You know, once we made a change in leadership for the basketball program, I had a chance to visit with our young men and talk through the changes and what was going to transpire next. We talked to people all throughout college basketball, professional basketball, scouts, you name it. We turned over every stone. And the one reoccurring theme that kept coming up was Charlie Henry. Charlie Henry. And so as we went through the process and really dove deep into Charlie and his background and utilizing analytics and talking to all types of people in the industry, he became a major candidate for us. You know, we charged a committee with using these traits, and I'll walk you through them here. They were most essential to the interview process, and I want to share those with you because I think it's indicative, one, of what we were looking for, and two, what a great fit we have. You know, one is someone that embraces relationships, particularly in Statesboro, Bullitt County, and the surrounding areas in southeast Georgia. That was paramount. It's someone who's an elite communicator. Someone that's a relentless recruiter, both of staff and student athletes, and he has a proven track record of developing talent. That was really important. We're a developmental program in everything we do, so that was really important. A coach who believes in leading the program with discipline and accountability. He's a visionary leader, someone that we're looking for that's going to have success here at Georgia Southern, someone that embraces the role of being a partner across campus and within the community. Obviously, it goes without saying we're looking for somebody that was a high level of integrity and intelligence and a strong work ethic and a proven winner. Charlie Henry embodies these traits, and I'm convinced that he's the most prepared candidate to have short and long-term success here at Georgia Southern. Now, here's the fun part, is diving into Charlie a little bit. Charlie grew up as the son of a high school basketball coach. He was a gym rat, right? And I think that if you talk to Charlie, that's really indicative of who this guy is. He grew up in the gym. He loves relationships and loves basketball. Being a gym rat prepared him for a 4-year member of the men's basketball team at Madonna University in Michigan. Upon the graduation, he went to work at Utah for a year and also worked at the Indiana Pacers with Larry Bird. He had some good Larry Bird stories on the interview. We'll save those for later, but we appreciate getting a little insight into the Pacers. He then joined Fred Hoiberg's staff at Iowa State. And listen to this. This is where you start to see some trends here. During his 3 years at Ames, Iowa State went to 3 NCAA tournaments, had 3 20-plus win seasons, back-to-back Big 12 tournament championships, and a Sweet 16 berth. They were one of only 2 teams that were to be top 15 nationally in offensive efficiency in all 3 seasons. Charlie then went to the Chicago Bulls in 2015, where he's one of the youngest assistant coaches in the NBA. As a primary offensive assistant, the Bulls had a winning record in year 1 and advanced to the Eastern Conference playoffs in year 2. He then was hired as the head coach of the Windy City Bulls in the G League in 2017, and they earned a spot in the playoffs for the first time in the history of the program. His last 4 years have been spent at Alabama working for Nate Oates, where he's been the defensive coordinator, handling all opponent scouts and defensive system implementation. In the 2021 season, Charlie helped guide the Crimson Tide to their first SEC championship since '02, the first SEC tournament championship since '91, and their first Sweet 16 appearance since 2004. The Crimson Tide have finished in the top 3 nationally in defense the past 3 seasons, as well as assembling 3 straight top 10 recruiting classes. They most recently were the #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Here's what I want to share with y'all. Charlie wanted to be an Eagle. That's really important. He wanted to be an Eagle. And he shares our vision for comprehensive excellence. And we are aspiring and continue to work towards being the premier athletic department in the Sun Belt and among the elite in the country. Charlie has many outstanding qualities. He's an elite basketball mom. Elite. He's progressive in his approach to game planning and style of play. They're doing stuff at Alabama that others in college aren't doing. Really excited about bringing that style of play to Statesboro. He's detailed and uses advanced analytics. That's that NBA background that brings it to the table. He's bright, he's personable, and he's engaging. He has incredible drive and uncanny work ethic. He's a high character leader with integrity. I know that ultimately that Charlie will be evaluated based on how our basketball program does. But if the last 48 hours are any indication, we could not have found a better fit for the Eagles. I've heard from countless individuals about the impression he's already made on them. Charlie already is where college basketball is heading. And for the Eagles, that future is right now. Please help me welcome the new men's basketball coach at Georgia Southern, Charlie Henry.
Thank you, Jared. Was a little bit nervous about who was going to be introducing me today. You know, I was hoping it was Chris. You know, I wouldn't have to adjust this mic, be worried about mouth level. But I appreciate the intro, Jared. In preparing for this moment, I must have been told 500 times. You know, I asked around. I said, you know, what do I got to do? You know, now I'm sitting up here, I've been thinking about it the last 2 days. What do I got to do? What do I got to say in the opening press conference? And I kept getting the same advice. from everybody, especially Jared and Chris. They said, you have to go watch Coach Helton's introductory press conference. Must have heard it 50 times in the last 2 days. So I did watch it, and he left some really, really big shoes to fill. He came in here with a lot of pop, but I'll just have you know, I'm a pretty big competitor, so Coach Helton, I'm getting after your ass. Eagle Nation, it feels good to be home. As these past few days, and even upon just being named the head coach here, I've felt so much love, and a welcoming spirit. I am so proud to be standing in front of you today as your head men's basketball coach. It's really a dream come true for me. You know, Jared touched on my background, but that's what it is. You know, I'm still in my mind, you know, the 5 or 6 year old kid that was getting done with Catholic school at St. Mary's of Wayne, walking up the road to watch my dad team's practice. Many hours were spent in that gym watching him down the sidelines as I shot on the empty side gym. It really is a dream come true, but for me it's, you know, I really feel like my life's been a dream come true to this point. You know, the moves that I've been fortunate to make, the people I've interacted with, all the opportunities I've been afforded, is really just living a dream. I don't feel like I've worked an honest day in my life because coaching basketball is so much more to me than just work. So in that respect, I just want to talk about why Georgia Southern, and for me, it was just so clear. You know, I'll talk basketball terms a lot. You know, when you talk basketball chemistry, sometimes it's hard to put into words, but it's easy to see when you spot it. And the chemistry here is just second to none. The alignment we have, with our administration really just stood out throughout this process. And it starts with Dr. Marrero. Dr. Marrero's sincere and authentic leadership. Jared compared him as a transformative leader, which I agree 100%. It was on display immediately during this process, and it really moved me. I'm honored to work for Dr. Marrero, and I'm going to work really hard to make him proud. Our athletic director, Jared Benko, his poise and his confidence, it kind of takes over the room when you're in there with him, and I know a lot of you guys in here know what I'm talking about. He has a belief in himself, his vision, and the people he has in place at Georgia Southern, and it really, really won me over. It didn't take me long to just identify with him and see this as a place I wanted to be. I can also see why he's raised so much money, because he sold me quick. So he's a big-time leader, and I'm just incredibly humbled, honored, that he thought highly enough of me to put me in charge of his men's basketball program. Our Chief Operating Officer, Chris Davis, he's shown me in a short time that good things can come from Auburn. His expertise and his wisdom, it's been invaluable to me during the transition, as evidenced by many late-night phone calls. My wife's up there, and she's trying to calm my son down. He struggles with loud noises, so you guys have been awesome, but you overwhelmed him a little bit. But there was many nights where I got home on the phone with Chris, and, Tish obviously had been gone all day and was home a little later than I was normally home, and she said, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, I'm talking to Chris. And she's, "Again?" So I've learned very quickly what a resource he is for me. I've leaned on him, and I'm going to, say apologies to Coach Helton again. One of the things I really appreciate about Chris is that his heart, he's a basketball guy. So, next, I want to thank our Senior Associate Athletic Director, Reggie Simpkins. Again, I'm going to go back to basketball terms, but, being in a room, with Jared, Chris, Reggie, Leonard, Reggie may not have the highest usage rate in the room. Obviously, Jared and Chris are trading a lot of barbs and holding court, but Reggie plays his role to a T. I really believe he is a star in his role, and I'm really, really excited to work hand in hand with Reggie going forward. Our chairman of the Athletic Foundation, I'm going to go ahead and give it, Lenny Bevel. Man, can't say enough good things about Lenny. All right, you've shown this Midwest boy what Southern hospitality is all about, and for that, I'm extremely grateful. To our faculty and athletic representative, Dr. Chris Geierman, I kind of was in a panic yesterday, and I texted Dr. Geierman and asked if we could go on the morning walk that he offered up the day before. And I'm not going to hold it against him. I still haven't heard back from him, but I know we're going to go on that epic morning walk here soon, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Our top faculty, our Deputy Athletic Director for Internal Affairs, all right, and our SWA, Brandy Klaus. Brandy walked my daughter over, and her welcoming spirit and her professionalism has been overwhelming the last few days. Really look forward. Thanks for walking Dixie Grace over. So we probably should have sent Nash over with you too, but live and learn. I can't let this moment pass without thanking all the coaches that have specifically helped me get here. I would be remiss if I missed that opportunity. I'm going to start with my very first, again, all right, Jared mentioned I was at the University of Utah for a year. Well, Coach Boylan there, Jim Boylan, gave me my first job at the college level and helped me land my first position with an NBA team. But it pales in comparison to his biggest assist he made on my life, introducing me to his nanny, all right, and my future wife, Tisha. I wouldn't be standing here without him, and obviously Tisha's been an unbelievable blessing in my life. Next, I want to thank Fred Hoiberg. When I called Fred and I told him about my opportunity at Georgia Southern, I had to talk a little trash for the football team. So I said, yeah, Fred, it looks like I'm going to be taking the head coaching position at Georgia Southern. I said, you know about Georgia Southern, right? And he kind of said, oh, Georgia Southern. So had to give him a little barb, but Fred, he gave me something that was invaluable for a person in my position, obviously a young coach. He gave me belief and opportunity. You know, I would hope that all the young coaches I work with, really in any profession, are as blessed to have a friend, a boss, and a mentor as I was with Fred. His family is family to me, and we love him dearly. Last but not least, I got to thank my very first boss and my most recent boss, Nate Oates. Who would have thought Nate, myself, from Romulus High School to head coaches at Alabama and Georgia Southern. We've come a long way, and I couldn't have asked for a better friend at every step of the way along the journey. His relentless competitiveness made me a better coach. I'm really going to miss our games of pool, and if there was ever a time to pass me in golf, Coach, it's right now, this spring and summer, but if you've seen Coach play, you know that's not going to happen. Georgia Southern. Back to Georgia Southern. People, purpose, action, growing ourselves to grow others. I've always prided myself in being a lifelong learner, and at Georgia Southern, I feel honored to be a part of this great team. I want to specifically thank all the people that have went out their way to call, send texts, and make myself and my family feel so welcome. All right, shifting gears to basketball. At Georgia Southern, we have a rich basketball tradition to live up to with greats like Tukey Brown, Michael Curry, who I spoke to this morning, and my guy CY. Legendary coaches like Coach Kearns. Former players, this is your program. We are going to celebrate you and welcome you back with pride and admiration in our hearts. I personally look forward to working with Coach Backus, who I got to see earlier today, to help foster those relationships. We're going to work really, really hard to give you all, and especially our former players, a program that they can be proud of. What a special opportunity myself and our team is walking into. Our last season at Hanner Fieldhouse, a place that has seen so many special moments. It's only right we send it off in style with one last ride deserving of this special place. But we need everybody, all right? We need you, Eagle Nation. Students, we need that nest to be filled. And I can just, for sure, let's go. Like it. We can do better, though. I'm telling you, stock up on toilet paper, because when we throw it out that first bucket, I got a sneaky feeling that's going to be on a 3 or a dunk. So always tell our teams we want a rowdy bench, all right? And I'm telling you today, we want a rowdy crowd. We need your support. You have me. I'm here. We're going to, like I said, work extremely hard to give you something you can be proud of, but we're all in it together. And once we establish the type of environment here, all right, that opposing teams fear, we're going to carry it right over into the beautiful Jack and Ruth Ann Hill Convocation Center. I also couldn't think of anybody better to share it with than Coach Howard and all the special things she's doing with the women's team. I'm looking for her out there. I look forward to working with you, Coach. Obviously, as I'm building our program, helping you build yours. As I said the other day, trying to ride your wave a little bit. We have an exciting mix of returners and signees. The program is in good shape, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Coach Chris Shoemate for everything he's done in this transition. Keeping Coach Shoemate on was an easy decision for me. Some of my mentors in this game, some of my closest friends are huge fans of Coach Shoemate, and they went out of their way to shower him with praise. He's a veteran in college basketball. Players respect him. Other coaches respect him, and it was an easy decision. He has made this transition relatively seamless. I'm really looking forward to working with him and building this program. When we talk about building this program, it's only natural to ask how we're going to play. Well, we're going to play in a manner that gives us the best chance to win. Jared kind of touched on how some of our teams have played in the past, but over my 7 years in college basketball, I haven't been a part of a team that ranked outside the top 40 in offensive efficiency, our worst being 37th in our first year at the University of Alabama. Over 3 years at Iowa State, we never ranked lower than 13th in the country, 2 of the 3 years spent in the top 10. The last 2 seasons at Alabama, we ranked inside the top 20 in offensive efficiency. We're not trying to win games 61-59, guys. We need to score the ball. Defense will be a foundational thing in this program. We care about defense because we care about winning. We ranked inside the top 3 in overall defensive efficiency. For you to better understand those numbers, when we talk about these ranks, we're talking about 350-plus teams. So if you're inside the top 20, you're doing some really good things. When you're inside the top 5, like we were in 2 of the last 3 years on defense, you're guarding at an elite level. If you watched any of our games at Alabama, you might have seen us get scored on and Coach Oates snap his head and yell at me on the sideline because, like Jared said, I was in charge of the defense. But it was great. He gave me full reign to run the defense. I feel like championship-level teams are balanced. They play complementary basketball that gives them a chance to be really good at both ends of the floor, and that's what we're going to do at Georgia Southern. Now, how do we do that? We recruit really good players. I'm only standing up here because I've had the good fortune of coaching some really good players, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about them. It's a lot easier to be good on offense when you got a George Niang, a Monte Morris, a Brandon Miller. Defense gets easier when you got Herb Jones patrolling the wing, Charles Bediako at the rim. The good news for us at Georgia Southern is we don't have to look far to find good players. I told, anybody that I talked to when I got a head coaching job, I wanted to get in my car to go recruit. And we can do that at Georgia Southern. I'm going to say timeout though, Lenny. And if you want to fly me anywhere, we can hop in a plane too. Myself and our staff, we're going to work relentless at finding the next Jeff Sanders, the next Julius Jenkins, the next Chester Webb, all those people that have made this place really special. There's got to be more to it, though, than wins and losses, right? There's got to be more to it. Obviously, the unforgettable moments of triumph, the depths of despair after defeat. I'm a little bit old-fashioned, but I still believe in the college experience. I still believe in the overall student-athlete college experience, young men leaving their families to become a part of my family, the Statesboro community, and to leave with a second home. The effectiveness of the job we do won't consist exclusively of wins and losses. We don't run from the fact that we'll be evaluated by wins and losses, but we're also going to evaluate what type of student athletes we are producing for this university, what type of contributors we are producing for overall Statesboro community, and are they better for their time having spent inside this program and at Georgia Southern. 5, 10, 15 years down the road, are they good fathers and husbands? That's ultimately going to be the final count in our scorecard. It leads me to my last. Thank you. and I'm going to try not to get emotional because I'm a family guy. My wife Tisha, my son Nash, my daughter Dixie Grace, you are my home team. You will soon find out, if you haven't already, my son Nash cannot sit still. I think he's up there running right now if you see him. At 33 weeks, he couldn't sit still for another 7 weeks, so we were sleeping at the hotel, getting ready to play Tennessee in the SEC tournament, and my wife shook me and she said, "I think my water broke." And I said, "You got to be kidding me." We were 7 weeks away. It was March 11th, and he wasn't due till April 27th. So Nash couldn't sit still then. He still can't sit still now. He's a handful, but he's also a fighter. He spent 89 days in the NICU, 3 different hospitals. He was diagnosed with Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome. It happened during COVID, and I get emotional thinking about it because there was actually 40 days of the 89 where I was not able to see him because of COVID restrictions. So I'll never forget, it was actually Mother's Day, but showing up to the hospital door, and they saw me and they said, "You must be Nash's dad." And it's the best words I've ever heard, best title I've ever been given, and it always will be. Leads me to 5 weeks ago. We were actually in the process of losing a football game at Tennessee. My Alabama fans will appreciate that. They follow a lot. But it was after the game, my wife texted me and said, "You better hurry home. I think this baby's coming." So obviously we flew back from Tennessee, flew back from Knoxville, landed in Tuscaloosa, drove up to the hospital, and it wasn't much later that we welcomed a beautiful, perfect girl, Dixie Grace, into the world. Dixie Grace, there's zero doubt in my mind that despite your mom's best efforts, you will be a daddy's girl. I apologize for the last 6 weeks. I know I've been busy. Lastly, to my wife, who's been with me through everything, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the wins and the losses, being a broke intern / GA to having a little bit of money, just a little. You are an unbelievable wife and mother. I have zero doubt you will put your unique flavor on being the First Lady of Georgia Southern men's basketball, and the community of Statesboro will love you for it. I love you, babe. If I screwed up anything in a game or today, just find my wife, because she is my biggest critic. So if we're playing too fast or shooting too many threes, just find Tisha. She's been pretty quick to embrace the Georgia Southern way of life. Obviously, GATA, she's heard me say it, when I get off the phone with these guys, she's kind of giving me that look like, "Man, you've been on the phone a lot here. I need help with this 5-week-old baby. Nash needs to be put down." So eventually she snapped about a couple weeks ago and she said, "You know what? It may be GATA to them, but it's GAMA to me." So she's been getting after my ass. So lastly, I just want to reiterate, I just can't tell you how proud I am to be standing up here in front of you today. All the thanks I've given out, I meant every word of it. We're going to work extremely hard, all right, with this current group of guys. We're going to work extremely hard to add the right guys, and as I said earlier, build a program that we can all be proud of. Which leaves me with, I guess, one thing left to say. Hail Southern!
All right, members of the media, we have time for a few questions, and then we'll do a breakout session over to the side here. Please raise your hand. Chad will give you the microphone, and please identify yourself on your first question. Go ahead.
Coach Josh Aubrey with the Statesboro Herald. Obviously, there's been some great players that come through, but it's been since the early 90s since Georgia Southern's went to the NCAA tournament. What about the program would help you to let people know why you feel like you're the guy that can help turn that around?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, we're trying to get back to 92, where the program was. obviously you're evaluating on making NCAA tournaments. It's, we've all watched it here these past couple weeks. Obviously, I was, fortunate to be a part of it there for a few games. It's March Madness. It's the most special time in college basketball. So what I'm going to sell is obviously the same things we talked about in here. I'm going to sell the unbelievable support and infrastructure we have here at Georgia Southern. I'm also going to sell myself. I believe in myself. I believe in my ability to build relationships and develop players. I'm going to sell our style. I think our style is going to help set us apart because we do things a little bit different. We're not going to run from the realities of where college basketball is right now. We're going to embrace it. And we're going to try to be ahead of the curve in all this. I think you have to, nowadays, when it comes to building your roster, I don't think you can just be strong in one area. I think you got to be strong in every area. So with Coach Shumate and the other staff members I'm going to be adding, we're going to build a great staff. We're going to work really, really hard. And these players are going to be a big part of it too. We're going to hold them to a high standard. All right, and they're going to come in every day and give us great energy, and we're going to give them great energy in return.
Any other questions from the media? All right, Terry, we turn it back over to you.
Good.
And if we would, I see some of our student athletes from the basketball team over here to my right. Let's give them a round of applause as well. Appreciate you, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you to the Georgia Southern Cheer for being here today. Also, the Georgia Southern Band, the pep band is here. Thank you. And to the representatives from the Nest. You want to hold the big head up again? That's pretty good. There will be some side wagers going between Chris Davis and Coach when it comes to basketball. If you guys want to get in on that, we'll talk about it afterwards. But I do want to make sure on your way out, if you'll notice, our season tickets are on sale for basketball. JP is back there, so is Taylor. Please stop by and see them. They'll have all the information for you. And go ahead and get your basketball tickets now. And if you would, tell a friend or two as well. We'll have the meet and greet will be started shortly in the back as soon as we're finished here. But again, thank you for being here. Share your memories and your photos on social media, GSathletics_MBB, #GATA, and Hail Southern. And go Eagles, GATA, just one more time.
group of guys. You know, when you went off.
Eagle Nation, it's a new day for Georgia Southern men's basketball. We have the pleasure of speaking with new head coach Charlie Henry, former assistant coach at Iowa State and at Alabama, also spent time in the NBA with the Indiana Pacers and the Chicago Bulls, and was the former head coach in the G League with the Windy City Bulls. Can't tell you how excited we are to have you here, to wife Tisha, to son Nash, to your daughter Dixie Grace, just 5 weeks old. Congratulations on this honor. Welcome to Statesboro.
Yeah, it's great to be here. We're unbelievably excited about the opportunity here at Georgia Southern, and excited about transitioning to Statesboro and making it our home.
What are the emotions like bringing your family to be a part of this family?
It's been exciting. It's been exciting. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. Obviously, trying to, finish the season at Alabama, it was disappointing. The way it ended, we were obviously hoping that this day wouldn't happen for another week. But, at the same time, you were torn up because, while you wanted to, do a great job with the guys you had coached all year and an unbelievable group of guys. When you went off at night, you were excited about the opportunity that was awaiting you at Georgia Southern. So it's conflicted emotions, but now that I'm here, I'm just ecstatic to be here.
Grew up in Canton, Michigan, about a half hour outside of Detroit. Your dad was a coach, so being able to go to the gym and watch him, how did that help you develop your love for this game?
Yeah, it was awesome. My dad was a longtime high school coach just outside Detroit, and I went to a small Catholic school growing up, and we would get done with the day. Obviously, my school recess was my favorite subject at lunch, but when we got done, I would just walk up the road and meet my dad in the gym and watch him run practice, shoot on the side, hang with the guys, all that stuff. So I feel like I've been around a team my whole life. My dad was a fiery competitor. He coached the guys hard, so I also think it gives you, unique perspective and some thick skin when your dad's a coach, because the players you look up to and you're really your heroes growing up, there's going to be a day where they might be pretty upset with your dad, and you kind of got to live in that reality. So it toughens you up, gives you some thick skin, but it's been a dream come true. It's something I wanted to do my whole life. So I feel like I've lived a dream up to this point, and this is just another step.
You played 4 years of point guard in college at Madonna University, but at what point did you want to become a coach?
Yeah, I always, I knew that my future was in coaching. Obviously, I loved playing. I'm not the biggest dude, so I knew it wasn't going to be, when you're young, you grow up wanting to play in the NBA and be with your heroes and all that. But I learned fairly quickly that, my future was, if I wanted to stay around the game long term, it was going to be coaching. And I always saw myself as a coach at some point. That was my plan, and I laid it out for anyone that asked. Yes, I was going to, go be a graduate assistant, work my way up, and ultimately be a head coach one day. So it's worked out, just obviously with God's blessing, working for some special people that really looked out for me and taking care of me. I feel like I'm pretty dang lucky.
Learning the game from guys like Nate Oates, Frank Vogel, Fred Hoiberg, what do you take from them to help you develop your coaching style?
For sure. As a young coach, it's so important to be around really, really good coaches. And, the 3 guys you mentioned are all phenomenal. I've worked with some other great assistant coaches too, and you take from those guys. But for each of them individually, I'll start off with Frank. Frank was a first-time NBA head coach. He had finished the year before as an interim coach, and he was an unbelievable worker. He was, you knew he was at night, pulling his own clips and organizing his thoughts, and he was always prepared when he stood in front of the team. So that really stuck with me. Also, I thought he had a really good filter for what to do and what not to do. Sometimes as a head coach you can, do too much, but he had a really strong filter even as a first-time head coach. For Fred, Fred's one of my great friends. He's given me so many opportunities, and I'm forever indebted to him and his family. They're like a second family to my wife and I. Fred was obviously a great player back in the day. If you didn't know that, you'll just ask him, he'll tell you. But obviously an All-American in college, but then had, kind of forged out his path in the NBA as you know, playing different roles. So he was really mindful of, you know, how to get everybody on the team bought in and playing with confidence. Very mindful of the messaging with guys, and, you know, wanted them to play loose and free and confident because he had been a player and those were the environments he had played best in. So obviously I took a ton of offense from Fred too. He's a great offensive coach, but really the psychology of the player is probably what sticks most with me with Fred. And then obviously I'll start with my, you know, where I was, you know, I should say I'll end with Coach Oates, with Nate, who's a great friend. He gave me my first job. I got done playing, like you said, and I went and helped him out when he was a high school coach. And he really hasn't changed a whole lot from when he was a high school coach to now that being the head coach at Alabama. He's a relentless competitor, and, you know, obstacles, he just puts his head down, and, you know, he has a saying that I think he took from somebody else, but it doesn't matter, just get better. So he doesn't really spend a whole lot of time worried about challenges and obstacles. For him, it's just something we gotta navigate, get better, and get through. So his just relentless competitiveness to get the job done and ultimately win is what will always stand out. Obviously, friendship as well, but, you know, from a basketball standpoint, just relentless competitiveness.
Think about your time in the NBA when you're surrounded by guys like Larry Bird, Paul George, Dwayne Wade, Derrick Rose, Pau Gasol. What do you take from being surrounded by that much talent, that much ability?
Yeah, no, I was fortunate. It wasn't until I got older that I wanted to work in the NBA. And that was obviously an opportunity that presented itself after a year at University of Utah for head coach Jim Boylan. When he got on with Indiana, he was able to help me get on as well. So, you know, I'm forever, you know, indebted to Jim. Not just that, he also introduced me to my wife, so I got to give him a shout out there. But, you know, being in the NBA was really something that I kind of cultivated that desire later. You know, as you studied basketball, you realized, you know, what a high level of basketball it was, what a high level of coaching it is. I think it gives me an unbelievable message to give to our guys, that you've seen what success at the highest level looks like, you know, from a team standpoint and an individual standpoint. You've seen how those guys conduct their business and what they bring on a daily basis. So it was unbelievable for me to see, and obviously the guys you mentioned, all-time guys. There's also just all-time pros that you've worked with that, you know, maybe they're not, you know, obviously D. Wade, incredible, illustrious career, one of the best, you know, shooting guards of all time. There's other guys to use as examples that just carved out long careers by just being pros every day. So I think what it allows me to do is really, you know, bring that home to our guys, and that messaging is, if this is ultimately where you're trying to go, this is the way you need to operate every day.
Last 4 years at Alabama, and a lot of people associate Crimson Tide basketball with the high-flying offense, some of the fastest tempo teams in the country, but also some of the best defensive teams in the country. 3 top 10 recruiting classes. How do you adapt that approach to the necessary needs here in Statesboro?
Yeah, just really lucky to be a part of Alabama's program, working for Coach Oates the last 4 years. So much that I took from him, so much to learn from. You know, obviously, as you referenced, you know, our offense got a ton of, you know, national just spotlight publicity, because it's very unique to college basketball with how fast we play, the shots we take. Obviously, the 2 years where we were fortunate enough to win the SEC regular season and tournament, you know, our teams were really led by dynamic defenses. With 2 years ago, Herb Jones, one of the best defenders I've ever coached, and then this past year, you know, just a very long, versatile team. So I think when you look at success, really across all levels, but in basketball, you're trying to, you know, put a good plan in place for your team to have success at both ends. You know, the teams that really contend and win their league ultimately usually are good at both ends. So that's what we're trying to do here. You know, as offense, defense. No, we want to be good at both ends. We want to be balanced. And, you know, our years at Alabama, our 4 years, that's what we strive for. Obviously, from a recruiting standpoint, Coach did an unbelievable job, targeting guys that he thought could impact the game at both ends. Obviously, system fits offensively. He wanted as many guys he could that could dribble, pass, shoot, but he also wanted them to have an identity and a competitiveness to their game defensively, to where we knew we could win with those guys. So we'll be doing the same thing, just working relentless to, obviously identify those guys, recruit them as hard as we possibly can, bring them here to Statesboro and show them everything I've seen the last couple of days.
Now that your feet are officially on the ground, what are the first orders of business?
Yeah, it's first orders. It's felt like a lot here the last couple of days, but obviously what I want to do first off is meet with our current guys. And when I talk about our current guys, our signees as well. I think, the guys that have stayed committed through the transition, and the signees that I've obviously spoken to over the phone, sitting down with those guys, face to face, them getting to know me, laying out a plan, collectively and individually. That's the biggest thing for me, because their support and their commitment through the process has been, it's been really, really important, and it's energized me. So they're going to be the first order of business. Obviously, we got 13 scholarships, so they'll be the first order of business, and then the second order of business is obviously going to be, filled in the rest of the roster. Staying committed to the guys that have obviously stayed committed to us through the process, and then, obviously, as I put together our staff, which is going well, it's finding the right guys to bring to Georgia Southern.
Last question I'll ask you. What is the most important piece of advice that you've received, and who gave it to you?
I'll go back to my mom. Special lady. Obviously, coaches' wives are a special breed.
Yeah.
I feel like my wife is the same mold, but my mom, man, she, there's 5 of us. As my dad was away a lot, obviously coaching, because us coaching types are a little nuts, but he was gone a lot, and I could say the best thing my mom ever did was just make me believe I was capable of doing whatever I set my mind to. So that's really stuck with me, just the belief she poured into me, and obviously it's what I want to do to, it's what me and my wife want to do to our son, our daughter. And obviously the same thing I want to do to the players I coach.
We are thrilled to have you here. Can't wait to learn more about you and your family. Again, congratulations and best of luck in this new venture here at Georgia Southern.
Hail Southern.
That's head coach Charlie Henry, new head coach of Georgia Southern men's basketball.